Okay, so here's a classic example of communications done improperly. So this is of course, VFD, and we've got our input power here, or our line power here, and then here's our motor conductors here. So this well is notoriously always appearing online, offline, that kind of thing. So I've already started clipping the wires before I decided to record what was actually wrong here. But so off the bottom side of the booster here, going to the polyphaser, we see a coil of wire sitting right next to our motor conductors and also our input conductors. So inducing a lot of extra voltage into that line, creating a bunch of noise. And we have the polyphaser installed right here. Again, it is right next to our motor conductors. These ones here, not too worried about it, but it just makes a routing nightmare. Otherwise, the modem isn't necessarily in a terrible location, although of course you can see here our antenna connection goes out parallel to these conductors here, and then is dropping down into here. So again, you know, we've got all these coils here which are getting a huge amount of induced voltage on them. So we're going to change this all out, and honestly we'll probably actually be able to go without a booster in here. There's not terrible signal on site, and we can reuse the booster somewhere else where we need it. But basically what I'm going to do, and I'll show it afterwards, is down here, basically all this is just control low voltage cable. Sorry for the wind today, but and so I'm going to drop a polyphaser right here, and then I can just come straight up. I'll install the antenna or the modem on the back pan, up and away from everything else, and just kind of tidy it up, and then I'll take a video afterwards. Okay, so another quick point of conjecture is these polyphasers. It's funny how it's a lightning arrestor. Actually, right there, lightning surge arrestor, and then they never actually connect a ground wire to it. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, as you can see, right around the base of this little bulkhead there is a seal. And you know what's good for a seal is keeping moisture out. So here's the original hole. I've enlarged it now because I'm going to put a half-inch filler in. But the best thing is you're going to, let's put it down here. So this is the new hole it's going into. So that seal is going to press up against the bulkhead. And then on the outside, these modem kits also come with this, a sealing ring. Where should that go? Well, it was actually up here in the cabinet, but no, we're going to put it underneath. Well, you don't actually even need it underneath if you're actually going underneath the cabinet. So if you're going to put it on the back of the cabinet, you know, if the cabling allows for it, then put the sealing ring on the outside and let that internal seal work on the inside. Alright, so what I did is I put the knockout filler in the back and put the polyphaser down the bottom here, ran the antenna cable up with the low voltage up top, tied into the antenna. You can see that we've got basically 2.5 bars. Of course 3 solid would be preferable, but still my data connection is only 57 kilobits per second, so it really doesn't require a lot, and it's just on a 3G network, 3G cellular. So that's basically all it took. You know, it wasn't, electrically it was wired fine, but communications wise it was wired terribly. So for right now, booster unplugged, just wrap the cable up the bottom, might end up pulling it and using it somewhere else. Yeah, all it needs is a little bit of TLC. Now, somebody might say, well, if it was wired in a shop before it came out to site, then maybe it was you know, wired fine in the shop, and that is true, and that might be a thing to look in the future. Is, you know, don't worry about wiring it in the shop, because it only typically takes an hour or so, maybe less than an hour, to install everything out in the field, and then you have an idea of where everything should go before you, so you don't have to come out here in minus 20 and 60 mile an hour winds. Yep, I know, I almost forgot. Ground the polyphase.